my lovelies. It is fixing to be September. I decided to do this report a little bit early because I would like for you to have this by Friday, because we do have an eclipse on Friday, and this energy is intense. This energy is moving fast, and let's get into it. So grab you a cup of coffee, grab you a cup of tea, whatever your choice of beverage is, and let's get into this, because I have pulled a few cards. I have a few little notes in front of me that has to do with the actual astrological transit, that sort of thing. I am going to bring some of that into it today because it's important, and it's really going to kind of give you a roundabout idea of not only what's happening, why it's happening, and kind of give you a scientific point as well, if you will. But you know, this channel is nothing but anything and everything woo-woo, so if that's not your thing, then you may want to keep scrolling. Alright, so let's get into it. Take a nice little sip and let's do this. So this Friday we have a lunar eclipse in Pisces. So this one is best to be prepared in advance, and that is why I am doing this today. So you have a few days to see this video, to watch this video, and get prepared, okay? Now, this is not a scare tactic. This is not, I don't want you to fear it. I want you to prepare for it. So there's going to be a lot of confusion that's going to be around this eclipse, okay? So if you're going out and about on Friday, just know there's going to be confusion, there's going to be overconfidence, there's going to be a little bit of anger, because we have the eclipse T-squared with Uranus. So there's going to be ego involved, overconfidence. Be careful, do not make rush decisions on Friday or for this whole entire week. People are going to be burning bridges. People will be cutting people off, not just in their lives, but in traffic, in grocery stores, and whatever you're doing. So if you have something planned this weekend with an outing with a bunch of people, I would be very aware of my surroundings, because it could change on a dime, okay? Be very, very careful. If you don't have to go out into big crowds this weekend, I probably wouldn't. But like I said, I don't want you to be afraid. I want you to be aware, okay? So if you are going to go out in this energy, I would suggest that you are very calm, you are very patient, you don't have anywhere to be at a certain time. Make sure everything just kind of flows easily, okay? Because everything around you will not. Okay, so be very careful this week. Rash, poor decision making could come into play this week. So if you have been not making great decisions financially, if you have just been not paying attention to your finances, if you have just not been paying attention to any parts of your life, know that this is going to come up this weekend. And this is going to really, you're going to feel this push to do something, and we want you to do something, we want the movement, but you need to make sure you're making good decisions, okay? So getting into this next week, so after the eclipse, we're going into like Labor Day type weekend. Just be careful that whole week as well, because we have Jupiter and Saturn, which is actually, according to astrology, is a rare aspect. We actually haven't seen this since 2014. So if you want to go back in your memory banks and see what was happening around 2014, it might be very interesting, because this may come up for you again. Now, Jupiter is actually a really good planet, often brings abundance, brings opportunities. It's very expansive, but it's also an igniter. So we have to be kind of careful on that as well, because we also have a challenging square between Mars and stubborn Saturn. And that's going to erupt on Tuesday, right before the, I believe it's right before the Labor Day weekend. So please avoid confrontation and competition. You really should not be in competition with other people. We all have our own beautiful skills. We all have our own unique way of doing things. We all have a gift to share with the world, and it's never going to look like anybody else's. So if you have people in your life that are being very competitive with you, towards you, that sort of thing, I would really pay attention to that, because this is going to be a time where you really need to start honing in on your circle, making the people around you, whoever's around you, needs to be for you 100%. Even if they can't see your vision, even when you're building something new and they can't see it, they should still be on your side, right? Doesn't mean they can't ask questions, doesn't mean they can't go, okay, so what exactly are you going for? And that's okay. We want people around us that ask us questions, that challenge us, right? But if they're not for you 100% and they don't want to do the work like you're doing the work, then there's going to be certain people that during this time need to be let go, because they are not going in your trajectory. They're not elevating to where you were going, okay? So this is going to come up again and again and again, and when I show you the cards, it's really going to explain it, okay? So I'm just kind of going through the transits first. So then we have, like I said, it's going to be all about the company you keep, because whoever you're around and whatever your environment is going to manipulate whatever you're doing, okay? So if you don't have good people around you, if you're not in a loving environment, if you're not in a yes, go for it environment, then you're going to be very stagnant. You're not going to move. You're going to be in fear. You're going to be in that energy, right? And you don't want to be there, you know? We have too much going on around us. We need to be in joy and gratitude and strength and warrior energy, right? Because we can push through this. So just know that the week of September 7th to 13th, we have Venus moving into Scorpio. So that's going to be a very romantic energy. So if you're looking to reconnect with your partner, if you're looking to maybe find a little romance, that might be a good time to do that. And because you also have smooth talking Mercury, which shifts into cooperation Libra. That would be an excellent time for negotiations. So if there's something in your life, whether it's personal, business, financial, whatever it is, it may be a perfect time to bring up some negotiations. Maybe something isn't going right in your life. Maybe there's some financial things that you want to work with, and you need to talk to your partner about it and say, hey, this is what I'm looking at. This is where I'd like to go. I'd like for us to be on the same page. What are your ideas? And start negotiating that, whether it's partnership relationships, whether it's business, home, whatever it is. There could be some negotiations. And that's not just financial. So I don't know if y'all have been really working with this eclipse energy, because if you have, you're going to notice that you are not allowing things to slide like you used to, okay? So you're going, wait a minute, I'm doing all of this. Why is this person not helping here? Or I don't have the energy to do all of that, so I can only do part of it this day and part of it the next day. And you're having to negotiate not only with your energy, with yourself, what's now working, what's not working. You're also going to have to negotiate this with whomever is in your immediate life. So whether, like I said, whether that's business, whether it's you leaving a job, whether it's you making different hours, whether it's you splitting household duties in a different way, if it's someone taking advantage of your generosity, you're really starting to pull your energy back because you're realizing that you have to spend your energy in a certain direction, and you don't have all that other energy to waste on either other people or other things that are happening, right? So you're gonna want to be very precise. We spoke about this a lot this year. Be very precise with your energy. Be very precise with your intentions, how you want your life to look, what you want to bring into your life, that sort of thing. So we are really in it in this eclipse energy. If you have been ignoring this throughout your life, throughout this entire year, guess what? Eclipse energy is going to push you into it. So you're either going to explode on somebody, or you actually do the work, you be mature, and you figure out what you want, and then you present it to that person and say, hey, this is what I need. What do you need? Let's negotiate. Okay? Explosion energy is not necessary, and it's for very immature emotional people. So if you are still doing that, if you are still flying off the handle and you are still very emotional to people and talking to people in a way that you shouldn't be, then you need to do some more deeper work. You need to start working on your emotions, because you can be in a calm state. The more you are in an irrational, emotional, reactive state, the less you actually accomplish. Not only that, it taxes the body horribly. So let's start doing the work. Let's make sure that we know what we want. And if we don't know what we want yet, then we need to tell that person, look, I'm not sure what I want yet, but this is what I need. And if they are not listening to you, because I have had that, then you need to make other arrangements, okay? Okay, so let's see. We have, let's see. We talked about movement. We talked about if you weren't moving, that these eclipses were going to move you. And a question that seems to keep coming up in different things that I'm doing is, why are you living your life for other people? Because when it comes down to it, and I want to be very frank, when you pass, life goes on. They may think of you here and there. They may honor you in certain ways. But if you look back on it, are you going to regret that you didn't stand up? Are you going to regret that you didn't bring more peace into your life? Why are you living for other people? Why are you living someone else's dream? Why are you living someone else's expectations of how you should be, how you should act, what religion you're in, how you should pray, right, wrong, this or that? Why are you living in someone else's regrets? Because most of the time when they expect you to act a certain way, it's because that's how they want to act, or that's how they want to control you. Because when you don't act the way they want you to act, you want to move towards intention, you want to grow, you want to elevate yourself, you want to be sure that you are coming from a place of healed energy. And when you start to heal that energy, you're going to start putting up boundaries. You're going to start saying, that's not for me. No, thank you. Doesn't mean you're mad. Doesn't mean you're upset with that person. It just means that, no, we're not doing that anymore. So even though you may have let things slide since you were 20, now, during these eclipses, you're being pushed into this new energy going, hey, what are you doing? Okay? Because if you don't start doing this movement, if you don't start changing with this energy, you're going to get pushed into it. Okay? So, the rest of the month just kind of flows. So what I mean by that is you have a lot of good energy. You have some people that are going to be guilt tripping, doing some manipulation, because you're starting to go, wait a minute, that's not what I want. So they're going to try to guilt trip you into certain things. I want you to stick to your boundaries and keep going. If you have a dream, if you have an idea of where you're wanting to go, I want you to stick with that no matter who tries to guilt trip you and manipulate you, okay? So towards the end of the month, we have our full moon, which is going to carry a huge reality check, okay? So this could potentially, like I said, bring to light lies, manipulations, and really trust. So it's very possible that there's going to be big revelations about people that are close to you. So it could be that some people portrayed themselves in a certain way and portrayed someone else in a different light, and now all of a sudden that's coming about, that's coming a face, and you're realizing that, oh wow, I didn't realize that was happening. Or you're like, well, I could feel the energy but I wasn't sure, so I just stayed, or I just did this kind of thing. And that's going to be close to you. But it's not just going to be close to you. It's going to be on a huge scale as well. So you're going to start seeing this in government, media, worldwide, statewide, everywhere. So do not be surprised if all of this starts to come out. Politician did this. Your local person did this. You start to see world leaders fall kind of energy, okay? And that's not just in big scale, that's going to be close to home as well. So when I say be ready for this energy, I mean be ready for this energy, because we always have eclipses in August, and then we have them again in February. So you are going to have this huge energy in August, September, end of August, September, and then you're going to come full bear in February again. So if you're not making changes, if you have not been working on yourself, if you have not been working on your spiritual practice, if you have let everything fall from the wayside, whatever you have let fall through the cracks will come up in September, will come back up in February. Do not be surprised if September moving all the way to February, if you do not have catastrophe type things happen. So that is why when I first started, I said you need to be prepared. Not frightened, not scared, not freaked out, prepared. Okay? So let me show you the cards I pulled. This is from the Oracle of the Universe, Stacy DeMarco. Awesome cards. I really feel like this is the energy that we're really in. Okay, so our first card is Gemini, and it's Rescue. Gemini, Rescue. So often Geminis come in to rescue people, and there's a couple of reasons for this. One, we are very compassionate. Two, we can see things others can't. We can see people's potential. We can see 10 different scenarios. We can come up with several different ways to get out of a situation before the situation even hits. We can see things that others, not that they can't see, but that others don't sit down and they don't sit down and just work on it or look on it. We can see it immediately. And so what happens is oftentimes we try to step in and help when that person may not necessarily want the help, they just want to complain about it, right? But when we see a problem, we immediately see solutions, right? So if that person is not willing to work with you on those solutions, if that person is not willing to compromise, to talk about it at least, right? Then you're going to be drained of your energy. So we need to stop helping those who don't want to help themselves. Okay, that's the energy we're in this month. Okay, The next one we have is fear. We have fear. And if you look at social media, if you look at the news, all you're going to see is fear. You're going to see war, you're going to see data centers, you're going to see everything falling apart, you're going to see financial things going up and down, up and down, up and down. All you're going to see is fear. Which fear is not necessarily a bad thing. What fear should be doing is showing you where you need to work, where you could prepare better, where you could move energy in a different way to be able to work with it in your favor. So that's our second card. Our third card is generosity. Generosity. So we have a lot of generous energy. There could be, because we do have Jupiter in the mix here, that is where your opportunities are going to come from. That is where your abundance is going to come from this month, if you are really working towards something. If you have a goal, if you have something that you have been working on with spirit. Okay? Right. Our next card is vows, and this is the Ursa Major. Vows. This is consequences. So if you have been, like I said, if you have been not working on things, if you have been letting things fall from the wayside, if you've been putting things on the back burner, if you have been in competition with somebody, if you have been jealous of someone, if you have been this is a very karmic card, if you will, and we really are in that eclipse karmic type energy. So whatever you have sown, you will most likely get back in some form or fashion, okay? So not only that, this consequence energy is very strong. So when these new opportunities, or if new opportunities do come up, make sure that you're really looking into them. You're not just going, oh yes, let's do this. You're looking into who's backing it. You're looking into what this person's beliefs are, how they're going to work with you, relationship-wise. Don't jump into something that you're not ready for, that kind of thing. There's consequences here, and they're going to be very strong, okay? And our next card is gratitude. This is Capricorn. Interesting, we start with Gemini and end with Capricorn. So Capricorn to me is warrior energy. They are the ones who get things done. They are the ones who push you forward. They're the ones who go, you can do this, keep going. You can do this, keep going. Gemini is very much the same way. They're more of your cheerleader energy. They're going to keep pushing you up. Unless, and this is for both of this, Gemini and Capricorn, if you are not giving them anything back, if you're not giving feedback, if you're not communicating with them, if you are not working with them, if you are just waiting for them to do something and you're not doing anything, it's the fastest way for somebody to go, yeah, I don't know what to do, right? They're just going to leave you in whatever energy you decide to sit in. That is the energy that we're sitting in. I did draw 2 more cards because I wanted to see if you were to work and really work on your life in all these areas we discussed today, and you really work with this eclipse energy, and you were to revisit all of this after you've worked from now until February, what would it look like if you worked? Okay, I got Signal, the Southern Cross, and I got Self-Trust, this blue necklace, right? So if you work on all of these things, you work on the things you fear, you work on who your circle is, you work on changing your life for the better. Remember we talked last month about gratitude, we talked about doing 5 promises to yourself. Continuing to make sure that you are healthy, happy, and full of joy, and you're not living for other people, you're living for what your purpose is, right? So we talked about that last month, and now we have all this eclipse energy. Their spirit and the stars, the universe, is asking you to revisit. They're asking you what you really desire. And remember, desire really means, if I'm not mistaken, it actually means of the stars. Because we always used to look to the stars. We always used to know that that is where we went back to. And so that is really, when someone asks you what you desire, they're asking you really to shoot for the stars. What do you really want? Okay? And here's the signal. Here's the self-trust. So, if you do all this work, you will start to really start getting signals. But the key here is you have to trust yourself. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust God. You have to trust Spirit. Because if you don't, that's where your hiccups are going to come in. If you're constantly looking to someone else for what you should do, why you should do it, opinions are okay, but if you can't make a solid decision on your own, you can't talk and pray about it and know that that is where you want to go, and you can't make that decision with you, Spirit, then you need to figure out why it's so important for you to have or to be liked. Why you have to have everyone else's opinion. Because ultimately, it's your life and no one else's. So this is very strong upset kind of energy. You will not come out of this eclipse energy unscathed, one way or another. So, prepare for it. Do not be surprised if you have something happen in your life that just brings you to your knees. Makes you sick, makes you question everything. Okay? Don't be surprised. Be prepared. So that you have the calmness, you have the energy to move through that. Because you can't hide from it any longer. It's here. It's not going anywhere. So, this is very strong, explosive type energy. Be ready, be prepared, and let's start really making decisions that work best for us and for our immediate family. And if something isn't working, you need to figure out a new solution. Be very careful in the eclipse type energy because traveling will be interesting. You need to really watch for your weather. It's going to be very magnetic, very electric. Make sure that you are checking all of your electrical things. Even though we are out of Mercury retrograde, this energy feels very dynamic. We could see, I would not be surprised if we see a hurricane in September sometime or another. I know we've already seen, I think, some towards Hawaii, but this feels more Gulf Coast or east side somewhere. So you're looking at southern states going to the east. So be very aware of your surroundings. I see a lot of different things happening with animals. So if you're not used to having large animals in your area, in your neighborhoods, be sure that you're paying attention. You're not just letting your dogs or your cats out. You're really paying attention to the wildlife in your area. I'm seeing a lot of movement because we are having a lot of fires, and we are also having a lot of disruptive energy here, and they are on the move. So I need you to be very careful in that retrospect as well. So we have a lot going on. We have very strong astrological points that are going to be crossing, squaring this month. So this is not going to be an easy month. Do not be surprised if your plans get completely changed. Do not be surprised if something happens and you don't get to go somewhere. September is going to be crazy. So if you do travel, make sure that you have allowances built into that. You have extra money put back to travel, because you may have to spend up front before you may get your money back. Make sure that you have extra money put back if you were to have to rent a car when you get somewhere and you might not be able to fly back. Okay, there's these interesting little energetic points that I'm seeing energetically on the map, in the air, that are really going to change the way we look at things around the world. So this is very heightened energy. This is very could be explosive, could be watch your anger. Make sure that you are coming from love and compassion, and be very aware of your surroundings. We could see more stabbings and shootings during this time, explosions. I don't know, I keep seeing earthquakes. There's just all kinds of things that are really coming up for me in September. So this is why I wanted to go ahead and come on and do this early, so you had time before September. Be sure that you are paying attention again to your weather. I do see flash flooding. I do see possible mudslides because of the torrential rain, which could come from hurricane, but this feels almost like maybe a front or something, possibly. If you do not have a generator, be sure that you have at very minimum a portable generator. You are going to need them. Yes, in the United States, you are going to need them. We're not just going to go days without power, hours without power. There could be weeks without power, depending on where you live and where these weather disruptions happen. Okay, make sure that you are prepared. Remember, eclipse energy is very strong. It can be unstable. However, if you work with the energy, you're going to be able to ride and flow on that energy and be able to just kind of move through it. Especially if you've been doing your inner work, especially if you're prepared. You have your generator, you have extra food, you have extra gas, that sort of thing. You know, just be prepared. I do not hoard stuff. Do not freak out. This is not prepper energy. This is simply saying that we are in eclipse season. It is disruptive, and because we have been building all year. Remember, Uranus is moving into Gemini. Remember, we're having to change Aquarius, all of this energy, right? We have new technological advances coming in. We have new, that also will look at your power grids, right? We're going to have to start looking at that again. Here comes your new technologies. But on the flip side, you're going to have that Aquarian humanitarian energy, so we need to make sure that it's good for the people, right? So that you have all of this energy just kind of marinating, if you will. And so when I see that marinating and I see these sparks coming off of it, there's just so much that could happen, and it's exciting. we get to live in this interesting age, and we get to take astrology and the planets and real world, and we get to look at it in different perspectives, and we get to kind of take the energy and mold it for our sorry, that's my dog. Hopefully we can mold this energy and work with this energy to ignite our lives, to excitement, to move ourselves into a life of love and peace and what we really desire, what our purpose truly is. So this energy is absolutely dynamic. It's phenomenal. But there's always the flip side. There's that duality, right? So that is where I'm coming from. I want you to know that there is that duality, that you need to be prepared. You need to make sure that you're continuously working to design and co-create the life that you want with Spirit. And that's what we have been talking about through all of these energy reports through the entire year. And we're fixing to move into September. We're almost at the end of the year. And between now and 2030 is going to be so dynamic. There's going to be so many changes that happen so quickly that if you are not moving with the energy, and if you're not really trusting yourself, and you're not really looking at the signals and working, co-creating, working with Spirit, and really moving where Spirit's asking you to move, then you're going to have a difficult time. It's just all there is to it. All right, my lovelies. I will see you in October. I hope everything goes well for you in September. Please contact me if you would like to have an eclipse reading. I'll open up a couple of spots on my calendar. So if you'd like to have an eclipse reading, contact me. We will do that. If you are looking to transform your life and to really get to the nitty-gritty and have someone really look at your life and help you, point you in the right direction, help you to figure out what you're really wanting, I'm happy to do not only a reading about that, but I'm also happy to do any type of coaching type session. So if that's something that you're looking into, I will open my schedule for those sorts of things as well. I will be doing some other things, but I think everything that right now I'm just trying to move through the energy like you are. So I'm just gonna put out a few things. Like I said, the eclipse readings, the readings of you moving forward, doing some new things, and a little bit of coaching in there. If that is where you are looking. And I just looked out my window and there is a deer in my yard. So how crazy is it that I just spoke about animals coming up that you don't usually see, and that there is in my backyard? So deer energy, usually they are very alert. They are constantly looking around to be sure that there's no predators. So that is September energy. So always look at your surroundings, watch what's happening, and even when you're doing your energy report, they will show you exactly what's happening. All right, my lovelies. Bye.